Hello, 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 hello. Good morning. Not even 8 o'clock yet. Oh, I didn't even announce I was streaming. Should probably do that. Okay, let's do this. Well, I hope everybody's having a great morning so far. Still waking up. Okay. All right, we got that settled. Oh, shit. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. We got some interesting things to talk about. Before we get into it, I suppose I'll mention something briefly. I last night I took my dog I took my dog out in the backyard like it normally would to, for him to go potty. And he was doing like zoomies or whatever on the deck. So we that's normal actually. He usually every time I let him out he goes crazy. So he was trying to play with my other dog, who was much smaller, but anyway, um this like swarm of fucking yellow jackets comes like emerges from underneath our deck, and he starts like they start landing on my like larger dog, the one that was being hyper, and we're seeing him. And at first, I didn't even know what was going on. I'm like, okay. I saw he was like licking or like trying to bite like around his calf area or around his like thigh or whatever. So I go over there and I think I see like one of them like on him, and then I felt one like land on my back or something, and I was starting to like I'm like, oh shit, this is like for real. So I go, I tell him to basically try to beckon him with me to follow me, and I start running to the door, and there was like several that were landing on me. It was pretty crazy. But I only thankfully got stung twice, and it sounds like a lot, but considering how many there actually were, how many yellow jackets there were, I think it's pretty good, all things considered. My dog, I think he got stung 3 times, and um, I could tell immediately that like I didn't know for sure he got stung. I thought the likelihood was high, but I didn't know for sure. But eventually, when I started seeing him have allergic reaction, that's when I knew for sure. So I um, gave him an antihistamine, or we gave him an antihistamine, and the swelling start. Well, we gave him that antihistamine right when we started seeing swelling, because before that it didn't like look like he was like having any trouble breathing, and he never did, thankfully. But the antihistamine worked. We gave him another one this morning, so he should be good. The swelling went down a lot from over last night, and yeah, man, it's wild. I did not expect there to be so many yellow jackets. I mean, it was wild. There was like a swarm of them. Yeah, I don't know, man. It was crazy. Um, also crazy. What's also crazy is this. So this
Course, bullied me
person,
in the comments, reached out to me on social media, threatened me, was honestly abhorrent. And I'm 29 and single. Yesterday, someone
Okay, wow, shit. We are going several layers deep here. I don't know what I don't know. Oh, this is Nat Walsh. Okay. So I'm curious what's going on exactly. Because I didn't see this. Yeah.
Am on a Saturday. I am 29 and single, and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought I should probably get up and do something, I thought, why? Nobody's making me. I'm not missing out on anything. I went to Beyonce last night and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. and I danced and drank my little heart out, and I didn't pay a babysitter to watch my kids as I did that. And I woke up a tad hungover this morning, which is probably why I was in bed for so long. And I was just scrolling on my phone and I saw a picture of shakshuka and I thought, you know what sounds really good? Maybe I'm gonna learn how to make shakshuka today.
Okay, so far nothing really interesting, I guess, is going on. I don't really know what could be wrong here. Um, just somebody talking about how, some of the benefits of not having children. Okay.
Because I have no plans and I don't have kids and I don't have a husband and I don't have errands to run.
They're living that single life.
I can go to the grocery store and learn how to make shakshuka. So that's on my agenda.
Well, to be fair, you can learn how to make that even if you had children and a husband, right? But I think the general point is more so like, you know, I'm living in my 20s or however old they are, and I'm just living my life single and all that shit.
Today. Also on my agenda, probably a rewatch of some Real Housewives of New York. I'm also doing a rewatch of Normal People on Hulu, which is really spicy and I highly recommend. Weirdly, I'm into this documentary on Netflix about blue zone countries, so I've got a pretty stacked day. Anyway, I say all this to say, whenever I'm hard on myself about why I'm not married and I don't have kids and I should be further along at 29, almost 30, I wouldn't want to do anything else this Saturday. And I know that you can do all these things when you have kids and you're married, and I understand, but the effortlessness and ease of my life, just kind of focusing on myself and the shakshuka I want to make or the Beyonce concert I want to go to, really pays off when I'm hard on myself for not being where society tells me I should be in life.
Okay. There's nothing really wrong with that. Oh man, so he says her life doesn't revolve around her family and kids, so instead it revolves around TV shows and pop stars. Who said it revolves around TV shows and pop stars? That's just part of her life. That's just part of her life. She never said that's in her entire life. I don't even think she implied as such. Worst of all, she's too stupid to realize how depressing this is. She seems pretty happy in this video, to me. Dude, the arrogance on display here is fascinating. How can you possibly feel as though you are the arbiter of what is and is not a depressing life? Or what is and is not a fulfilling life? Everybody has different goals in life. That is a shocking display of arrogance there.
Someone named Matt Walsh decided to repost a TikTok video that I posted to his 2.4 million followers on X, formerly known as Twitter. And the way that his followers bullied me in the comments, reached out to me on social media, threatened me, was honestly abhorrent. Some of his followers said that I was going to die alone.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't... Oh, he made it over. If you don't have a family, at least do something interesting with your time. Wait, that is a completely subjective claim to make. What is and isn't interesting is dependent upon the person. There's some people who like fucking making Civil War reenactment things in their basement, and there's other people who like playing pool, and there's other people who like going to concerts. Like, what a very odd thing to say, a bizarre thing to say at that. Once again, another display of arrogance. These people have absurd amounts of free time. Who said they have absurd amounts? It's a Saturday. She's doing all this shit on a Saturday. It's a weekend. What are you talking about? Yeah, she has some free time on the weekend. Most adults do, I think, probably. Doesn't mean she doesn't work Monday through Friday. And they do absolutely nothing with it. What are you talking about? She says that she's learning how to make shakshuka or whatever the fuck that is, and okay. Wasting their lives staring at little glowing boxes. This is insane, dude. Like, I don't know why he's so fucking mad about this. How dare you spend your time doing things you enjoy? Grr. Look at some of the people saying, though. Oh, so this basically confirms it. Depressing to you, maybe. Your view of a good life can be different from somebody else. True. Your idea of right is not a universal idea of right. Okay, a little cringy, but whatever. There's some good comments here, but it might have taken place after she had made that video. Yeah, there's some good comments here. Not like overwhelming maybe, but it's not the dunk on married women. I don't think she's trying to dunk on married women. I think she's just expressing more so her state of affairs and why she's happy with it. What? She's making a comparison to a lifestyle has never and probably won't ever experience. But we'll all experience things like learning how to cook, hanging over to Beyonce's studio. Didn't she admit that in the video? She said, like, oh, you can still do this when you're married and all that. Pretty sure she said that. She actually looks miserable. Fucking huge major projection vibes there. Jesus. Alright, whatever. What's up, though? She made a reply.
My name is Julia and I'm 29 and single. Yesterday, someone named Matt Walsh decided to repost a TikTok video that I posted to his 2.4 million followers on X, formerly known as Twitter. And the way that his followers bullied me in the comments, reached out to me on social media, threatened me, was honestly abhorrent. Some of his followers said that I was gonna die alone, I should actually die and never leave my house, I should be sexually assaulted, I'm pathetic, I'm a whore, and that I was dead behind my eyes. Honestly, that one kind of made me laugh because I use Kosas concealer and I thought that it was working. No, but really, if you haven't watched the video, I suggest you watch it. It's all about how I, a 29-year-old single female, decided to spend my Saturday watching reality TV, learning how to cook shakshuka, and sleeping in until 10 a.m. These people were really, really, really riled up about my choices on a Saturday. But here's the thing about social media. While it can be a really crazy place, which I experienced yesterday, it's a place where there's content for everyone. Here's who I'm creating content for. I'm creating content for people who are taking their time creating the lives that they want for themselves. Because it's the life that they want, not something that society has deemed correct. People who are feeling anxious in life because they haven't met their person yet or started a family, aren't rushing or settling to meet someone because some internet troll is telling them that they're gonna die alone. And you know what? There's a 40 to 50% divorce rate in the US, and I believe that figuring out who you are first and foremost and meeting your partner at that point is going to decrease that divorce rate. And if you're lucky enough to have the family and friends and support that I do, none of us are going to die alone. And I believe that we're all going to meet our people, and we're going to do it living life by our own terms. Life's too short to be living life figuring out what Matt Walsh wants us to do, or what some internet troll behind their keyboard is saying. If anyone is wondering, the shakshuka I made was delicious.
Okay. Cool. So I don't really know much about this person, actually. Do they work at Huffington Post? They actually have a lot of followers, apparently. I mean, I don't really know much about them, but... Well, I don't need to get in the weeds about it, but... Okay. And then some asinine, insane fucking post. Yeah, this is like probably one of the craziest, I'm not even kidding. Probably one of like the most craziest things I've ever seen on Twitter, which is saying a lot, actually. I think this speaks for itself. I don't even know this person's trans. It would be insane. This would be even more insane if this person was not trans. But even if they were, it's still very psychotic. Anyway, okay. We got that covered. Nice. Oh, yeah. Dude, this is... Oh, it's only a minute. Where's the full vid? Just curious. Might be in my bookmarks. It is. Oh, shit, this is fucking 41 minutes. We might have to do it on double speed. Alright. It's time. It's time for us to solve the age-old question, is Obama gay? This guy has the receipts, apparently. The receipts are his mind. Let's do it.
In retrospect, it's pretty amazing that Barack Obama got as far as he did. In 2004, the summer of 2004, Barack Obama gave a keynote address at the Democratic Convention in Boston. And when he walked to the podium, probably only a small percentage of people in the room knew how to pronounce his name. He was totally unheard of. No one knew.
Nobody knows how to say Obama? I think he's just making shit up. Okay.
To Barack Obama. At the time, he was a state senator in Illinois. 4 years later, he once again spoke to the Democratic Convention, but this time as the nominee. Meteoric doesn't begin to describe it. How did this happen? Well, the outlines are fairly well known, though rarely talked about. A small group of Democratic donors, mostly in Chicago, decided that Barack Obama was their guy. He was the vessel for their ambitions. They paid for his campaign. They paved the way for his rise. He spent 2 years pointlessly in the United States Senate preparing to run for president in 2008, and of course, in the end, he won. But the question was, who was this man? Where did he come from? What did he spend his life doing before he became president of the United States? Well, the news media, whose job it is to answer those questions, spent the entire...
No, it's not. The news media provides news. It doesn't provide backstory about other people. It can, certainly can, but that's not like what it's designed for.
entire 08 campaign trying to keep you from knowing the answers.
Whoa, wait, hold up. Hold on. What did you just say?
Of course, in the end, he won. But the question was, who was this man? Where did he come from? What did he spend his life doing before he became president of the United States? Well, the news media, whose job it is to answer those questions, spent the entire 08 campaign trying to keep you from knowing the answers.
Based on what? Source? What did they do? What did they do to cover up who Barack Obama was? So, okay, here's what's happening. All right. So the preamble here. Establish who the subject that we're talking about, who is Obama. How most people typically know his story, which is that he was the underdog in 2008, which is true, and eventually won the presidency, and that the media or the deep state or whoever he just referenced, it did what they could to prevent the citizenry of the United States and the public from knowing the truth about who Obama actually is. So he didn't say it in these terms, however, that is the implication behind what this is about to be, like, this whole segment, right? Yeah, well, let's find out.
By election day, most Americans knew only one thing about Barack Obama, other than he was handsome and a good communicator: hope and change. But they knew nothing about him, his origins, what he believed, and legitimate questions about those facts were turned away, as they often are, with the claim, "That's a conspiracy theory, you're crazy, shut up!"
That's not usually what happens. It's usually people who propagate extreme claims, such as, for example, and this is apropos given the fact it's an Obama example, that he was born in Kenya. Obviously, this is not the case, and it's been disproven multiple times. However, people such as conspiracy theorists will insist upon the fact that he was born in Kenya and that the birth certificates was forged or whatever the fuck they want to say. So, yeah, those are typically the people that we would plop into the camp of conspiracy theory.
One of the most interesting moments in the 2008 campaign occurred when a man, like Obama himself, came from out of nowhere to recount his experiences with Barack Obama the man. His name was Larry Sinclair, and he told an amazing story. He said that in 1999, he had encountered Barack Obama in Illinois, had sex with Barack Obama, and then used cocaine with him. Sinclair went on to make these claims publicly at the National Press Club in Washington, to sign a sworn affidavit, and to take a lie detector test. But he was dismissed. In fact, he was attacked. Obama shills like Ben Smith of Politico.
All right, before we move forward, we got to establish one thing. Larry Sinclair, who are you? Obama. This is from 2008, so he was dismissed. So Tucker Carlson just made the claim that he was dismissed when he made these allegations. So I'm curious on what grounds. This is from 2008. Okay. Larry Sinclair is wanted in Colorado, but you can catch him today at a National Press Club. Sinclair is familiar to political junkies and reporters as the source of outlandish allegations about Senator Barack Obama, tales that began with sex and drugs and moved on to murder. So, a little bit editorializing right off the bat here, with outlandish allegations. See, this is the first time I'm even learning about this story, because this is before I was even invested heavily in politics. So, I just want to put that out there. Is the sort of figure who appears at the margins of every presidential campaign, and both President George W. Bush and Bill Clinton had their own obscure accusers with dramatic allegations. But as the old media ignores him, Sinclair is taking full advantage of the internet, and a video in which he makes his claims that have been viewed more than 900,000 times on YouTube. This afternoon he reserved the Holman Lounge at downtown Washington's National Press Club to try to lend his stories that legitimacy that comes with national media attention. Sinclair's biography, though, may get in the way of that pitch. Public records and court filings reveal that he has a 27-year criminal history with a specialty in crimes involving deceit. Ooh. Interesting. The record includes 4 jury charges in 2 states, one of which drew Sinclair a 16-year jail sentence. The Pueblo, I don't know why I said it like that, County, Colorado Sheriff's Office also has an outstanding warrant for Sinclair's arrest for forging an acquaintance's signature and stealing her tax refunds. Wow. It is what it is. Okay, thank you for not denying it. Sinclair's affidavit, which he posted to his blog, accompanied a request to Colorado judge to dismiss the warrant on the grounds that Sinclair was disabled with a severe spine injury and nerve damage. So he was a retard, and that's why he did. That's why his warrant should have been dismissed. Got it. That returning to Colorado would put his life in danger. He was terminally ill. Whatever. Wait, this could be an interesting hole to poke in the story he's about to tell on Tucker. Accompanied a request to a Colorado judge to dismiss the warrant on the grounds that Sinclair was disabled with a severe spine injury and nerve damage. Okay. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Okay, well, never mind. We'll see what happens here. Sinclair, who is still alive, is 46, stands 5'7", weighs... Okay, I don't care. Colorado records list him with 13 aliases, including... Wow, okay. His story has generally been ignored by the mainstream media because he's been unable to substantiate his allegations. That makes sense. He has come to public attention recently, however, because his planned appearance at the National Press Club drew complaints from a wide array of prominent liberal bloggers. Their petition to prevent Sinclair from renting space at the club, which bloggers feared would lend him credibility, drew more than 11,000 signatures. I'm not aware that we've ever turned anybody away for content, she said, adding that Sinclair's allegations don't seem very credible. Politico isn't reprinting Sinclair's allegations because they are unsubstantiated. So it's a little dishonest for Tucker to say that the national media ignored him because that's not necessarily true. They inquired about his allegations, which were not able to be substantiated by. Therefore, his allegations weren't made public, at least from Politico. This February, this website offered Sinclair $100,000 if he could pass a polygraph test to verify his claims. He took them up on it, and the site said in a press release that the polygraph organizer said his results indicated deception. Okay, then at that point, this is already a nothing burger. Sinclair then suggested the polygraph sponsors had been bribed to skew the results against him, an allegation his lawyer said he would expand on. Oh my god. So, hold up. This guy has a history of forgery and fraud, and the polygraph he did take was didn't even come back truthful. He made there's a defamation suit against him too, apparently. He was also living in a mental institution. Sinclair denies that claim, I guess. The records tell the story of so he was first arrested for larceny, which is stealing. According to his cover. In other words, this guy has a lengthy criminal history pertaining to fraud, and the polygraph he did take indicated deception. So with all that context in mind, how does Tucker frame everything here? This is a little pop quiz for you guys.
But they knew nothing about him, his origins, what he believed, and
He's speaking about Obama right now, not Sinclair.
legitimate questions about those facts were turned away, as they often are, with the claim, "That's a conspiracy theory. You're crazy. Shut up."
This is a little, and again, now having this context in mind, him saying this is even more retarded because, like, this is a complete straw man of what actually transpired when these allegations were made by Sinclair against Obama.
One of the most interesting moments in the 2008 campaign occurred when a man, like Obama himself, came from out of nowhere to recount his experiences with Barack Obama the man.
I wouldn't say out of no. Wait, hold on. That's actually a lie right there, I think. Because in that article, and I say I think because I would have to do a little more investigating, but according to that article, he's had brushes with other politicians, right? It said like with Bush and Clinton. Pretty sure that's. I mean, I could go back and read it, I guess, but I'm pretty sure we read that. So it's not he didn't come out of nowhere, I would say.
His name was Larry Sinclair, and he told an amazing story.
Amazing. So already we are, the framing here is totally in favor of Sinclair.
He said that in 1999, he had encountered Barack Obama in Illinois, had sex with Barack Obama.
So notice how I know it's a small thing, but he didn't say, he didn't make the allegations. He's saying it as if it is a fact, basically. And I just don't think that's fair.
And then used cocaine with him. Sinclair went on to make these claims publicly at the National Press Club in Washington, to sign a sworn affidavit, and to take a lie detector test. But he was dismissed.
That's not true. The polygraph he did take, and it indicated deception. So him saying he was dismissed is a totally it's a lie. Also, people, many of the journalists and national media and all that never really gave him that much attention because he was unable to substantiate the claims outside of him just saying shit. So that's problematic too. They can't just post stuff for the sake of it.
In fact, he was attacked. Obama shills like Ben Smith of Politico.
Well, what do you mean by attack, though?
Batted the claims out without refuting them. They're absurd. And the rest.
Wait, how do you know he wasn't? Because they weren't substantiated. There's nothing to refute. It's just your word against his. There's nothing substantiating the claims he made. That, in conjunction with the fact that he has a criminal history related to fraud, I think it's pretty safe to say that he's lying. Yeah.
The rest of the media followed suit. But the claims weren't absurd. We're not claiming they're true, but they were certainly credible. This was a first-hand account of Barack Obama's behavior.
That's not what makes something credible. If I look into a sky, like that would be like me saying, "Hey, I see the fucking Death Star in the sky right now, guys. I saw it on June 20th, 2006." At and then people are like, "Hey, that's actually didn't happen," and then you're like, "Well, it's a first-hand witness. I'm a first-hand witness. I saw it." That's not credible. That just makes something credible just because it's a first-person witness or whatever.
Someone who's willing to sign a sworn affidavit to that effect. So the question is,
but he has a criminal history related to fraud, so he doesn't care if he's going to sign an affidavit. He's committed larceny. He's committed forgery. Like what? That means That means nothing.
Whatever happened to Larry Sinclair? What's his life been like since? That's an interesting story. It turns
No, it really isn't.
out Larry Sinclair is still alive. He lives in Mexico. But today, he's in our studio, and we're happy to have him. Larry Sinclair, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Where did you meet Barack Obama?
It was by accident. I was in the Chicago area in '99 for Lee Duke's graduation from the Naval Academy.
Who's Lee Duke?
He's basically my godson.
Okay.
I had hired a limousine service.
I'm sorry, no. Did you live in Chicago then?
No, I was actually living in Colorado. I had flown in the night before.
Okay.
So had hired a limousine service, had made the driver aware that if Lee couldn't leave the base, because once they graduate, some of them actually get their assignments and they're shipping out and they can't leave the base, that I was still interested in going out. And had asked the driver if he knew anybody that was available that might want to show me, Chicago. And he said he did. So
Well, who was the driver?
his name was Jameer Motani. It was with 5-star limo.
So you're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party, actually.
Yeah,
That's what you're really saying.
Yeah. Well, I was in town for a few nights, but yeah, I was definitely looking to party. And
Did you make that clear to the driver?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there was no misunderstanding.
How
between you.
direct were you about that?
Extremely.
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 Okay.
Yeah, there was no doubt what I was looking for.
Okay.
And he picked me up at my hotel in Gurnee and drove into Chicago, pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama. It was literally that casual.
Had you ever heard of him?
No.
Did the driver know him?
Yep. The driver definitely knew him because the driver said that he was a friend.
Interesting. How would the driver be friends with Barack Obama?
I only found out later, dealing with a reporter from Bloomberg News, that apparently the limousine company had been doing business with Tony Resco, that at the time was somehow affiliated
Was
with
in
Barack
Obama's
Obama.
orbit.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting. So he knew Barack Obama, and in his view, Barack Obama liked the same kind of partying you were looking for.
Yep.
Okay. So sex and drugs, in other words.
The sex part I wasn't so sure about until, of course, you make your move, but it became obvious very quick. The coke part I thought was interesting because of the way that I had brought it up.
So I'm stepping on your story. So you pull, and I apologize. So you pull up to this bar. The driver is basically scouting some dude for you to hang out with.
Correct.
There's this guy, Barack Obama. Have you ever heard of Barack Obama?
Never. Never. We're having drinks. I mentioned the fact that I could use something to wake up. I was extremely exhausted.
So you went into the bar.
Yes, sir.
What kind of bar was it?
I'm trying to remember. I've been trying to remember the name. I know that the glasses had 3 X's on them because I remember taking one home for a friend of mine.
But I mean, generally characterize it. Was it?
It was
working class
up,
bar,
no, it
gay
was
bar, strip
upscale.
bar.
That's pretty convenient. The fact that he doesn't know exactly the bar.
It was upscale, quiet. Wasn't really that really didn't have a lot of energy to it. It was more relaxed, more like a lounge as opposed to somewhere where people would go and get loud and crazy.
Yeah.
Which made it easier to talk. But like I said, when I brought up the fact that I could use something to wake up, he immediately knew what I was referring to, had made it clear that I was looking for coke, and I really was, and had made the suggestion that he knew where we could get it, and we left to go get it.
Interesting. Did he say what he did for a living?
Nope. I had no idea that he was a representative in the Illinois House. I had no idea he was in politics. I just knew that he was supposedly married and at the time was going through some issues with the marriage.
He said that?
That was made clear. Yeah.
So he can't even go into specifics. Okay.
Did he say what kind of issues?
No.
Do you remember? No. So you said, I'm looking for someone to wake up. He knows you're referring to cocaine. I know where to get it. What happens next?
We get back in the limo. The driver takes us wherever it is that Barack had instructed him to take us. I had given Barack $250 to pay for coke. He gets out, comes back. I start putting a line on a CD tray to snort.
And you're in the limo?
Yep.
Driving or parked?
No, the driver's driving.
Yep.
I start to put a line on a CD tray, and I just happen to notice that he pulls something else out of his pocket. And next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I don't have an issue with it. I mean, some people smoke, some people snort.
Smoking the cocaine?
Yes. So as I'm doing a line, I just start, this is the part where you kind of make your move to see where things are going. So I just started rubbing my hand along his thigh to see where it was going, and it went the direction I had intended it to go. So the night became somewhat active sexually and drug-wise in the limo.
So you hit on him. Did he seem shocked by it?
Wait. So he had sex with Obama in the limo? Am I understanding that right? He said actively sexual in the limo.
Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, if you're smoking crack with a stranger in the back of a limo, like, you got to imagine things are going to go crazy places.
Well, not only imagine it, I look at it this way. I've done a lot of crazy things in my lifetime. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I pretty much know whether or not I can move in a certain direction with an individual. I didn't feel that I was going in the wrong direction. I just wasn't so sure how much I could trust the individual at first. And that was probably one of my bigger concerns. But the fact that I was already becoming somewhat buzzed, you kind of throw caution to the wind.
You weren't sure you could trust the individual. What does that mean?
It- when you meet someone out of the blue and you go to a level that you're doing drugs with, or you're giving money to purchase drugs, or even for sexual activity, you have to be sure that you can trust them. And when I say trust, I mean that you're not going to end up being robbed, or that you're not going to end up having a knife stuck into you,
Right.
you know, from one direction or another, or that you're not going to pull up somewhere and all of a sudden the car door is going to open and you got 5 people pulling you out of it.
Totally.
That's what I mean when I say trust someone.
And you've been around at this point in your life, big time.
Yeah.
Right. So probably not your first time in a situation like this.
Not at all. And that's why I said I pretty much know where I can go and
Yeah.
at what point.
So you start rubbing his leg, and I think, I'll just be totally blunt with you, like a man who's not into gay sex would be like, whoa, settle down.
Trust me, if it was something that you were not interested in,
Yeah.
and you're right, I've had guys that I read wrong that would literally try to break your hand.
For sure.
If you went in that route. So it's not like this was something that he wasn't into. It's not something that he was shocked by.
Yeah.
Shocked by, you don't get excited and you don't unbutton your pants and you don't just sit there and let it happen.
Yeah.
So it definitely wasn't Barack's first time. That much I'm absolutely certain of. And I would almost be willing to bet you it wasn't his last.
So you performed oral sex on
I
Barack
did.
Obama. You did.
But this sex took place in the limo, is what it sounds like. Additionally, this sex took place after they had both consumed cocaine. Could it not? I just don't get how like the driver would be so blissfully unaware. I mean, maybe they have like that divider thing, but why would it just be the two of them in the car as well? Yeah.
In the driver's up front.
Yep.
And he's cool with this.
The driver has the partition up. He didn't have a problem with it. He didn't put it down for any reason.
I mean, he kind of set up the whole thing for this in the first place.
Exactly. And I have a funny feeling he had no bones to pick with it as far as what took place in it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to overlook that? Like, why wouldn't he give a shit? I don't know. Okay.
So what happened after?
Also, wait, who's this driver? If we can get his first count witness too, that'd be cool. I mean, that isn't to say it would be full bulletproof, like of a story, either with whatever he says, but yeah.
Afterwards, I actually went back to my hotel. I had specifically asked that he drop Barack off first, but for some reason he and Barack chose that they would drop me off at the hotel first and then he would take Barack. So Barack actually made the drive out to Gurnee, which is a suburb outside of Chicago, to the hotel for me to be dropped off.
What hotel was it?
It was the Comfort Inn in Gurnee.
Ooh, that sounds depressing.
Well, you have to remember it was 99.
Yeah. No,
And it was close to the Great Lakes Naval facilities.
yeah.
But I got dropped off. They left. The next day was somewhat interesting because he ends up showing up at my hotel room, which I thought was somewhat weird, but
He wanted some more. Mm-hmm. So when you say he showed up,
he showed up. I mean, I had no warning. I was in the room. There's a knock on the door. I opened the door, and he's standing there. And he's standing there with more coke, and he comes in, and it was just like a quick, rehash or rerun from the night before.
exact same program.
Exact same program.
Was he smoking again?
Yep.
So Barack Obama smokes crack, and then you perform oral sex on him.
And like I said, the only reason I had come out about it is I had reached out to the campaign even in 2007, only because I saw all these kids getting excited about it.
Okay, wait. So how did that end? Like,
Same way. You get off, you finish smoking, you leave.
thanks, bye.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. What did you think of him?
I thought he was interesting. I thought he was definitely a con. But,
What do you mean by that?
well, in my life at that point, you made it clear. I'd already been around.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. So when people are doing things because they actually really enjoy it, or they're sincere, or they're looking, for a connection, or they're doing something because they're looking for an in, or they're looking for a hook, or it's a game.
Yeah.
So for me, I felt that it was a game for him. It was like, okay, what am I going to get out of it? Or is there something I can get out of it other than just, the sexual part?
Right.
And lucky for me, I wasn't going back to Chicago anytime soon.
Wait, I don't understand. Like, when you're doing cocaine and shit with strangers, and you are having oral sex with strangers, wouldn't it just be for that experience? It's not like you're trying to develop a deeper connection with that random person you stumbled upon? Especially if you're a sitting senator, no? If they're a strange, and even if we take away the fact that he's a politician for a minute, even if he's a stranger to some regular person or whatever, I don't think it's like the goal to when you interact with another person and are doing these things that you are doing it for the sake of developing a deep connection with that person. I think it's more so to get the experience of the sexual stimulation and the high from the drugs you take. So I don't. It's a little weird that he said that, but yeah.
That really didn't matter.
So you were left with a bad taste in your mouth.
That's something, yeah. Yeah.
Did you talk to him again?
I did not. In fact,
And did you have any idea? Even though you had sex with him twice, you did cocaine with him, watched him smoke crack twice, you had no idea who he was.
I had no idea who he was until I'm sitting in my house in Tequila, Nayarit, Mexico in 2004, and he walked on that stage.
In Boston?
In the DNC convention, and I literally hit the floor. I just hit the floor and was...
Wait, so you're watching the Democratic convention?
This is very difficult to believe. It's I think it's really difficult to believe the fact that you wouldn't recognize Obama in the first place. I understand this is prior to him being the president or whatever, but even so, it's kind of strange. And the first time you knew he was like a politician is when he walked up on the stage there. Yeah, I don't know. It seems a little weird.
Convention from Mexico.
I was
And the
laughing.
guy that smoked crack in your Comfort Inn with you.
I was laughing so hard.
And you were sure it was him.
I was absolutely positive.
How?
I don't forget people I've met. I don't forget people I've spent time with. I just don't.
And just to restate, because I
Sure.
think you affirmed this.
Wait, hold on. How can we trust his judgment though? Because he said he admitted to taking cocaine prior to, like, if he was taking cocaine, wouldn't that have an effect on his memory? Like, and it seems like he's abused cocaine in the past. I don't think it's the best source to rely on here with who he can and can't remember.
But he used his real name. When he
Yes.
was Did he call himself Barack or Barry?
Barack.
Barack.
And so did the driver. And that's why at first when everybody was referring to him as Barry, I just didn't
That's also really unbelievable. Like the fact that he would use his real name. Yeah, okay.
understand or catch on. Because like I said, I didn't know that much about him other than the fact that, hey, you know, you hook up, you know, today it's Grindr. Back then it was, you know,
The limo driver.
yeah, a limo driver or a bartender, you know. You ask and somebody knows somebody or somebody doesn't.
Keep in mind, even if this story is 100% true, it literally means nothing. It doesn't matter in even the slightest realm of relevance here. Because who gives a fuck? Like who gives a fuck? If he sucked off some guy in the fucking back of a limo, snorted a line of cocaine, smoked it, whatever the fuck he did, who cares? It's your life, buddy. You can do whatever you want.
Amazing. Amazing. So you're sitting there in Mexico watching this, and you think, that's the guy I had sex with who smoked crack with me.
Yep.
And what do you think?
Like I said, I just started cracking up. I freaked out. I had even pointed out to some friends of mine that were at the house that night, and I told them, I said, you're not going to believe this. I said, I blew this guy twice, you know, and they just start cracking up. But that's the thing about me. I've never been in the closet. I've never hid. I mean, I'm always very direct and blunt. And, you know, and I'm just like, this is unreal, you know, and I had no idea that he was going to run, you know, in 2008, but I was back from Mexico. But it was a strange feeling sitting there watching him walk across that stage and realizing who he was.
Cool.
So what did you do? You said you reached out to the campaign?
Well, I didn't do anything in 2004, but when he announced his run for 2008, I did reach out to the campaign in late 2007 because I had seen a lot of these college kids talking about how thrilled they were, how there was a candidate who was completely honest about his entire life, his drug use, you know.
And wait, was that a common motif with the Obama campaign? That he was honest about his life? I mean, I truth be told, I wasn't super invested in politics around the time, but like, I don't think that was like a thing. I mean, I don't know, maybe it is.
You know, what he did is when he was in school, you know, the constant back and forth. 1 minute is, yes, I did cocaine when I was younger, or no, I never did cocaine, but I smoked weed. So I just simply pointed out that all I was asking was, look, why don't you just simply come out and say, I did coke and I've done it as recently as 1999. You know, just tell the truth. Put it out there and be honest and let it stay as the truth rather than this back and forth. Never did hear anything back from them immediately.
Who did you reach out to? Do you remember?
I reached out to actually David Axelrod's office in Chicago. I'm trying to remember the letters because it was actually 3 letters.
And did you say, I had sex with Barack Obama?
This is the interesting part. My first contact with the campaign never mentioned the sex whatsoever. That was actually brought to my attention by someone who eventually reached out to me in late 2007, claiming to be with the campaign, but wasn't with the campaign.
What do you mean that was pointed out to you? So you never told anyone
never-
in the Obama campaign you had sex with Barack
Not
Obama?
in 2007, no.
Interesting. But they knew?
Yep.
Okay, I don't know if that's true. He could just be lying flat out. even if it isn't, like, okay.
How? Who? Well, that's
I'm,
weird.
I'm assuming Barack himself, because the phone calls that I got in late 2007 came from a gentleman that I have repeatedly identified as Donald Young. And it was Donald Young who had mentioned to me that the campaign was not going to acknowledge the sex and the drug interaction. And I was somewhat...
I think it's a little weird to get offended by that, given the fact that, first off, many, if not all, politicians, okay, not all, but many politicians engage in drug abuse, probably. But they don't make that publicly known or talk about it really, because there's a big social stigma against people who use like cocaine and shit. And especially in the case back in 2009 or whatever, or 2008, 2007, that stigma was even greater probably. It would just be a detriment to the political campaign broadly, so it makes sense that they would not want to talk about that.
taken back, because like I said, I had never mentioned the sex to the campaign at all at that point. I had in 2008, but I had not in 2008.
That is...
Keep in mind that he could flat out be lying here, because first off, a lot of time has elapsed between now and 2008, but like, even so, like, he has a criminal history related to fraud. I don't think he's the best judge of character here. Additionally, he's been arrested for fraud-related things since 1981. Again, not a very trustworthy source here. Additionally, he hasn't really substantiated any claims so far. It's all just like, I saw this and I did this and all that, yeah.
Amazing. And I want to get to who Donald Young was in just a minute, but I apologize for being a bad interviewer, but let me just ask the obvious question. What was Obama like on crack?
Actually, and I hate to say this because some people are going to think I'm really crazy, I knew a lot of people that smoked it because I was in Miami in the early 80s when it became quite popular. Similar to a friend of mine that I knew in Miami, gets extremely high, calm, almost euphoric. And then as it starts to come down, you know, the twitching and the looking, anything that looks white that's sitting on the seat or the floor, you assume is another piece that fell off that, you know, you can pick up and smoke. But while he was high, pretty much the same.
Pretty controlled.
Pretty controlled, euphoric, talkative, but not really saying anything.
So it was like his presidency.
A lot like it.
Was it your impression, and of course you would, strictly speaking, no, but was it your impression that this was the first time you'd ever smoked crack?
No. You don't, first of all, you don't buy crack, get in a limo, and have a pipe in your pocket if it's the first time you smoke crack.
Yeah.
You just don't.
That makes sense. So,
Oh yeah, keep in mind that he also took up. Anybody who's coming in now, we went over and he did do a polygraph, and the polygraph came back as though he was indicated deception in the polygraph. That was the results. So it wasn't being honest, with the story he was providing. Additionally, this guy Sinclair also made the claim that the people who took the polygraph of him were bribed to be biased against him and to skew the results. This is an outlandish claim. This is probably even more outlandish than the Obama came into my limo and I sucked him off claim, because it is literally not substantiated at all, not even remotely. The fact that these polygraph people were bribed, it's just, yeah, just totally fucking made up.
I've read about your story to the extent it's been written about, not very much. But I'd never read that Donald Young, this man Donald Young, called you and told you that he knew you'd had sex with Barack Obama.
That was the contact in late 2007 that I had that originally came under the guise that they were part of the Obama campaign.
So who was Donald Young?
Donald Young was a choir director and a school teacher. He was a choir director at Jeremiah Wright's church in Chicago, the same church that Barack Obama went to. He was also a very openly gay black man, but very well respected.
Did you know him?
I had never met him. I had not even realized that the person who was communicating with me had been killed until a good 2 months after.
So I'm going to get to that. So Donald Young is the choir director at Jeremiah Wright's church.
Yes.
And is it publicly confirmed that he knew Barack Obama?
Oh, yes. Yes. Donald Young's own mother has repeatedly said that she feels that her son died to protect Barack Obama.
It's just interesting that Donald Young
Okay.
would have called you. He's not working directly for the campaign that we know of.
Exactly.
But somehow he has a copy of your letter. It sounds like maybe Donald Young was on cleanup duty.
Somehow he has my phone number. Exactly. And that's exactly what it was.
This is why they get called conspiracy theorists, because of that non sequitur that was employed by Tucker Carlson here. He was on cleanup duty. Okay.
because, like I said, the first calls were, I was led to believe that he was with the campaign. The last conversation that I'd had with Donald Young, he had actually come clean and said that he had been asked to call me and that his job was to get as much information from me as far as who I had spoken to, who I had given any information to, and to get it to them. He had told me to be careful, to watch myself, and to understand that the Barack Obama campaign was not in any way, shape, or form going to acknowledge anything or come out about anything. And he had made it clear that he had known Barack for quite some time and had had an intimate relationship with Barack for quite some time.
He told you that?
Yep. And that's when I knew that I could at least trust what I was being told. Originally, I had made it clear I didn't feel comfortable with the phone call because something just didn't seem right. But after a couple of calls, it started to all fall into place. And I had said the same thing to myself.
Wait, so you didn't know Donald Young existed?
Nope.
It sounds like you're not very political anyway. You weren't.
I wasn't at the time.
And you were just annoyed that Obama was talking about cocaine and lying about it.
I was extremely annoyed.
But the sex part had nothing to do with it.
No.
Then Donald Young, who you don't know, never heard of, calls up and says, by the way, I know you had sex with Barack Obama. I did too.
Yep. Pretty much.
I mean, this is a longer conversation, which we can have in a minute, but I mean, Obama has a wife and kids, and he's...
Who's Donald Young? Dude, we gotta figure this shit out. There's so much bullshit. Jesus, this guy has a longer, like, criminal history than I thought. So there's a defamation claim, yeah. Bomb now. The murder of Donna Young. Oh, dude, this is tying in like a whole other fucking web of conspiracy. He was murdered. And remember, Tucker Carlson, irresponsibly, mind you, claimed that this was cleanup duty from the Obama campaign. Let's actually read what happened with him. Obama attended the church that he sung at? He was a choir director for? Okay. He was shot in the head. He sustained multiple gunshot wounds, according to authorities. Young's roommate discovered his body when he came home at 7:30 in the morning. Some Christmas presents and jewelry were also missing from the house, indicating that the robbery had gone wrong, but the police made their investigations and ruled his death was a homicide. The roommate was initially speculated as being a suspect. The roommate was cooperative in the investigation. No further information has come to light since then. Young's death remains a mystery. He fell victim to a heinous crime in his own house. Okay. This was as of 2023. Ooh. Actually, this was 2 days ago. Interesting. Okay. This is a whole fucking thing. Oh, look at that. Pepe's friend zone. The people who are... Man, the most fucking trustworthy fucking source I can think of to discuss this matter is... Okay. I'm gonna get this... I am going to get the impression that most of the commentary surrounding Donald Young is going to be from far-right sources. In which case, if that's true, then that would be a waste of my time. Because then it just seems like he got killed in his house, and we don't really know much about that. We don't really know much about like who killed him. It seems like the case has gone cold. So once again, keep in mind that Tucker Carlson made the claim that he was on cleanup duty, the Obama campaign, rather.
Telling America what a great family man he is.
Well, maybe not so much the murder. I think he was more so talking about the, like, call Sinclair and get the shit, like, straightened out. Like, keep his mouth shut, yeah. But, this phone call, it's hard to prove that it took place at all. Because that would seem pretty important, right? To prove that this phone call actually took place and has existed. Because because Donald Young is dead, so we can't like ask him. Obviously, yeah. It's just yeah.
Is that maybe you've seen this a lot? What do you think of that?
Well,
Oh,
you know, in
and
2000
I just know something else. Another thing why this could also be a lie is because like anybody could look up that Donald Young had a connection with Obama. Maybe not like he just had that connection to Obama, not just because Obama attended the church that he sung at or was the director for, but apparently according to him, and I would have to double check if this is true, but he was part of the Obama campaign. So anybody could look that up and make that connection, and it was convenient for I guess Sinclair's story that Young is dead and we can't substantiate that this phone call existed by anybody else except for him.
2008, I made it clear that Obama was having marital problems in 99, and everybody in the world said that I was crazy, didn't know what I was talking about.
Well, yeah, because you are. Also, how would you know that there were marital problems going on between them? Was it because he told you in this made-up scenario where you did coke and you sucked his dick?
And yet, what was it, 6 months ago, Barack Obama comes out and tells the world that exactly what I said was the truth. In 1999, he and Michelle came very close to divorce.
Well, dude, you could just look that up. He said it came out after, but you could just be lying about that. You could just be like, it doesn't make any sense. He could easily just be like, okay, there were marital problems with Obama, but him making that claim could have transpired after he came out later and said that he had marital problems in 99. Again, another thing that you could just look up.
Really? 15 years later, what I say is the truth, but 15 years earlier, I'm a liar and a fraud?
Because the time when you made that claim wasn't true, that's why. Also, there's no substantiation behind your claims. It was just you saying, even if this is the way it transpired, the timeline, even if that is the way that it is that you described it, that doesn't mean that you were, like, at the time, like, any more correct, right? I mean, like, you're just saying shit. Nobody, you had no fucking evidence.
It's interesting how things eventually come out. But
Wow, very arrogant.
yes, believe me, I've known guys that were completely happily married that will screw around with another man.
Okay. You're kind of a scumbag for doing that too, though. Just being like, participating in the infidelity between a man and his marriage too.
On a weekly basis and think nothing of it.
Is it your sense that that's who Obama is, just transactional, or that he's bisexual, or like what is this?
No, my feeling that Barack Obama is probably, he's definitely bi. I think that there is a lot of transactional qualities to him, because I think whatever he does, it is looking for a hook or looking for a benefit.
Yeah, that's consistent with his public persona too.
Who cares? Who cares? Oh, and I love how by the way they keep tying in this like, oh, that's also the same for his presidency. That could be said for his presidency too. Okay. Dude, that really just, they can't even help themselves. It's so obvious that they're fucking lying and just want to make this a political hit job.
I would say. So Donald Young calls you. You actually, it sounds like you kind of like and trust Donald Young.
I did.
Did he say how long he had a relationship with?
He had just said that they had been intimate for years.
Intimate for years.
Very convenient that Donald Young is dead and we cannot confirm or deny any of the claims being made here.
And what happened to Donald Young?
Donald Young was shot dead in his apartment on the second floor in Chicago, Illinois. I think it was December 23rd of 2007. According to the police report and the death certificate, multiple gunshot wounds.
Shot in the head. One gunshot wound. Boom, he's dead.
Close range. No forced entry. Second floor apartment, yet not a single resident in the building heard a single shot. But yet they can hear every shot that's fired in the street outside.
Wait, how do you figure that? That's a very tangentially and irrelevant point to make.
Jeremiah Wright announces that Donald Young's dead earlier that morning, even before it was announced, even before he was declared dead. I mean, a lot of it just didn't make
When you're shot in the head and even if you're not shot in the head, you're just shot multiple times, I think it's safe to say that you're dead.
sense.
How does that not make sense? What? Okay, this is just stupid, man.
This is all public, and you can
Yep.
look this up, and it's still on the internet. Tell us about Donald Young's mother.
Norma Jean Young actually is a former Chicago Police Department employee.
Really?
Really.
Dude, I can't take how obvious he's being a liar here. I'm talking about Tucker Carlson now. He's like, tell us about about this guy's mother. Like, that's such an odd, specific question to ask if you didn't know already the context around what was going on. And then he says, what he says, right, about him being whatever. And then Tucker's like, oh, really? Like, dude, Tucker Carlson absolutely knew that, but he played dumb for the sake of, I guess, the theatricals of this whole segment. I don't know.
She had worked for the Chicago PD. I had spoken with his sister Lorraine shortly after I realized that he was the gentleman that I had been speaking with. There were people at the time that were attempting to have Lorraine and other members of Donald's family file criminal complaints against me with Chicago because they wanted to be arrested. They were trying to get the family to say that I was trying to con them or something.
Well, you do have a lengthy criminal history pertaining to fraud, so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that you are also doing the same thing with this Obama piece.
To my knowledge, they never did any such thing. But at the same time, I continue to respect Lorraine and the rest of the family. But Mrs. Young had finally come out and told David Nelson, who was a reporter that I knew out of Minnesota, that she was convinced that Donald had been killed, that his death was to protect his friend Obama. And she confirmed that they had, in fact.
Notice the web here that is being spun. Like, he has so many different pieces of information that are all, like, it's like a whole fucking narrative, right? And it's not a narrative in the sense, like, here's a story, like, here's what happened. It's a whole narrative to substantiate the broader claims of a deep undercover, like, cover-up of a murder to protect the political reputation of Obama, and that look how far the fucking deep state and the fucking political apparatus is willing to go to defend their people. Yeah, it's like a whole fucking web. It just, and you can even kind of understand the vibe being evoked here, even if you didn't have the context about this guy's criminal history. Like, it just feels very editorialized in a way, the way in which this information is being provided. I don't think it helps that he's on Tucker Carlson, but yeah.
I've been extremely close for years.
I mean, did she confirm that they'd had sex, Obama and Donald Young?
Her confirmation wasn't referencing, or she did not specifically say that they were sexually involved.
Interesting. Is she alive? You know what? If she's alive, then I guess, hey, if she is alive, she can't confirm if they had sex. But if she's shot in the head, then yeah, she probably could.
She just simply said that they had been intimate friends for years.
But she believed the Obama campaign was responsible.
She believed that his death was due to protecting Barack Obama.
So, no.
And I made the same argument that people said, well, how are you accusing Barack? I said, I'm not accusing Barack of anything. But I said, I'm willing to bet my life that Barack Obama and Jeremiah Wright both know or have knowledge of who killed Donald Young. There is no doubt in my mind about that.
Well, this was a guy who was clearly going to be the next leader of the world.
Wait, why clearly? What? He was an underdog. I don't know what he's talking about.
You know, people kill each other over insurance claims, over bar fights. There's a lot at stake here. I have no knowledge of this. I'm not alleging.
Again, this is setting up the stakes of what it means if we are right versus if we're wrong. Like this, like Tucker is saying why this matters, right?
Murder by the Obama campaign or its allies, but it's not. It's not a crazy thing to wonder, obviously.
No, and the only thing
well, it is, because these claims are completely made up. They're like, there's nothing to substantiate them. Also, in fact, there is contrary evidence, given the fact that he has taken a lie detector test, and it came back as, like, not honest.
After I realized what had happened with Donald Young, the only thing I'd ever asked was the same thing that I had done. And I said, you know, if you want to accuse me of being crazy, you know, release your phone
Nobody accused you of being crazy, although you probably are, but we're accusing you of lying.
records. You know, turn over your phone records from your phone in '99. Turn over your phone records for the last year.
That's not how that works.
I mean, it's that easy. If you've got nothing to hide, it's not like they're going to be made public. Turn them over to authorities. Let them investigate. Let them look.
That's also not true. This came out. Wait. Phone records are okay. All right, it's fine. It's fine.
But no.
So now it seems like a fair time to ask about your motive. So your initial motive was you were annoyed because you believed or you knew that Obama was lying about his drug use.
Right.
But then after the Donald Young exchange, where he brings up the sex that you had with Obama, what was the point at which you decided, I'm just going to bring this to the country, I'm going to go public?
Well, in January of 2008, after having contacted the campaign yet again, I had decided, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to make a YouTube video and put it up, which I did.
Okay.
It wasn't because I was looking for anything out of it. In fact, if I had even stopped long enough to anticipate the blowback and the consequences of speaking out, me being me, it probably would not have stopped me. It might have slowed me a little bit, but it would not have stopped me. But I figured if you're going to call him out, you can't call him out on part of it. And people said, well, why didn't you just talk about the drug use and leave the sex out? And I said, because if I said he just used drugs and then you found out later it was drugs and sex, you would accuse me of lying because I didn't mention the sex. So
That's not... What? That is not how that works at all, but okay.
my opinion was, if you're going to tell the story, then you tell the whole story and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, sure, but that logic doesn't make any sense. If you say, I did crack cocaine with Obama, and it comes out that you did crack cocaine with Obama, that is a truthful statement, even if you don't mention that you had sex with him too. That those things are completely irrelevant.
So that's exactly what I did.
And so you made a YouTube video. By the way, I looked for it last night, I couldn't find it.
That's because YouTube gave access to my account to someone shortly after the polygraph test. And I was never given
Wait, what do you mean given access to someone?
access back to it before the video was actually deleted.
That makes no... Wait, hold on. Oh my god. I'm starting to get triggered. What does he mean give access to someone? Like somebody fucking backdoored, fucking Pentagon hacked his account and erased his video that already had hundreds of thousands of views? The article we read earlier said he had over 900,000 views on it. And it's convenient, again, that this is another whole fucking web of deep state cover-up placating to that narrative. It's pretty convenient that this seems to be a common theme amongst his story.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, YouTube gave access to the account.
And I love how he's saying, I'm not accusing Obama of anything, even though he absolutely, right here, is accusing his campaign of infiltrating his YouTube account and deleting his video.
The video was deleted. Microsoft gave access to my Hotmail account, and all of my emails were...
Okay, that's a little bit of a weird framing there. Microsoft technically, from a technical standpoint, yeah, sure, it did give access to something, but it wasn't like Microsoft's, like, Bill Gates wasn't rubbing his hands saying, like, oh my god, let's give access to this guy so his video's leaked.
circulating the internet, and vacation replies were set up on my email telling people that I was busy giving blowjobs and would get back with them when I was done. And oh yeah.
Man, they wanted Obama to be president.
Yep.
Again, so that's the entire thing here, right? Rewriting history in a way to make it seem as though the DNC is to the point where cover-ups to this extent are willing to transpire by members of the Democratic Party. Incredible. But again, like there are real criticisms you can make against the corruption against Democrats and Republicans without having to spin this entire fucking made-up scenario that you gave a blowjob to Obama in '99 in the back of a limo.
And they wanted me to be the biggest fraud and nutcase that ever existed.
Wait, we don't need to make that up. You literally were convicted of fraud.
So, I got to ask you. I mean, I wasn't there. I can only assess what you're saying. I don't see any obvious motive for you for gain, financial gain. You're not going to get rich doing this. And in fact, it happened. You got impoverished.
Wait. He's been impoverished because he's lost a bunch of like lawsuits and also has gone to jail several times. So it wasn't at the expense of him sharing the story.
As a result of it. But, like, if I'm a reporter, well, I was a reporter at the time. I remember thinking, well, that's an interesting story. But it seemed like nobody in the media...
Again, this is okay, so we're about to enter another fucking, like, dialogue tree here. That the national media ignored him, and they tried to also were complicit in the cover-up of his allegations, even though reporters did come up to him, but he was unable to substantiate any of the claims, therefore they were never made public, or rather they were never broadly talked about from the like national media.
Wanted to follow up with you, and some people like Ben Smith at Politico, who's a liar and a shill posing as a journalist, I reread the piece last night that he wrote saying, "Oh, it's ridiculous. Right off the first graph, it's ridiculous." These claims.
Well, I think
I love how he ridicules this guy for being a liar, like this other guy he's talking about, Tucker Carlson, when ignoring the fact that this guy right here is literally convicted of fraud and also has lied on the polygraph test.
I have an answer for why a lot of reporters did not want to follow up. And I think it would have something to do with what David Axelrod told a old Chicago Sun-Times reporter.
Oh, God.
No, a Chicago Tribune reporter, John Crudson.
Axelrod had been a reporter in Chicago before he went into politics.
Well, John Crutzen worked for the Chicago Tribune. And John Crutzen actually came to Duluth, Minnesota and sat down with me and talked with me. And John Crutzen had told me point blank that before he had flown out, that he had spoken to Axelrod and that Axelrod had told him that they were aware of who I was and that it was their intentions to destroy me and that if any reporter had mentioned me to them, they would be completely cut off and that outlet would be completely cut off from access to the Obama campaign.
Damn. Those are some heavy allegations. I got any sources for them? Any receipts?
For the duration of the year. So I think that had a lot to do with why reporters didn't bring things up to the campaign.
Well, can you prove the initial claim at all with anything?
Because everybody wanted access to, the new savior. Nobody wanted to be blackballed and denied access to a historic campaign.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's the guy's running for president and credible information comes out that he's smoking crack and having sex with dudes, I mean, that seems like a story.
Well,
The circle jerking, man. Wow.
it would be a story if the media really cared about telling people the truth about anything.
Yeah, they're lying.
Yeah, again, like placating to the narrative that the media is 100%, 100% of the time lying.
Liars, and that Ben Smith is a liar.
Oh, Ben Smith.
I love how, again, I can't let this go. Like, I can't get over the fact that Tucker Carlson is so fucking obsessed with labeling Ben Smith as a liar, which I don't even know who this guy is, by the way. I don't even fucking care. But, like, the fact that he's labeling this guy and so insistent on not believing Ben Smith, but then so willing to hear out the story of this guy here, who happens to, by the way, provide a narrative that is convenient for Tucker Carlson politically. It's just so aggravating, dude.
It's more than a liar, but you're right.
What do you mean more than a liar?
He's a complete fraud. Ben Smith, I hear people talking about grifters. Ben Smith to me is a grifter.
It's so funny by that. Like, Stones and Glass Houses, am I right? This guy is literally a fraud, like convicted of fraud. But Ben Smith, I'm sure if I looked him up, even if he is convicted of fraud, it's a little weird for him to ride his high horse here and be like sanctimonious that he's like, this guy's a fraud. Yeah.
Ben Smith wrote an article saying that I had a 27-year
Criminal history.
Career criminal. And the funny thing...
Wait, that's true. You were convicted of larceny in 1981. In fact, your criminal history might even be longer.
is if you look my criminal history up, which I've published myself and provided from day one, my criminal history goes from 1980 to 1986. And everything I've ever done, I've owned it.
That's not true. Oh, whoops. He said 1980 to 1980, or 1989? Or what did he say?
I've never wasted taxpayer money.
I've never wasted
He's
taxpayer
a complete
money.
fraud. Ben Smith, I hear people talking about grifters. Ben Smith to me is a grifter. Ben Smith wrote an article saying that I had a 27-year
Criminal history.
Career criminal. And the funny thing is if you look my criminal history up, which I've published myself and provided from day one, my criminal history goes from 1980 to 1986.
1986. Sinclair's biography, though, may again the way that public records and court filings reveal that he has a 27-year criminal record. This is from public records and court filings. So it's a blatant lie when he says that Ben Smith was lying. I'm trying to find an example of where it takes place after. Oh, look at that. In prison, according to state records filed in federal court, Sinclair was disciplined 97 times for infractions including assault, threats, drug possession, intimidation, and verbal abuse, most recently in 1996, not 1986. He was convicted of theft in 1985, larceny in 1981, but in 1987, 1 year after he claims that he was done being bad with the law, in 1987 he was convicted for more serious forgery charges, sentenced to 16 years in jail. Literally a blatant lie. So what did he say exactly?
To do with why reporters didn't bring things up.
Back and having sex with dudes. Yeah, they're liars. And that Ben Smith is a liar.
Oh, Ben Smith's more than a liar, but you're right.
What do you mean more than a liar?
He's a complete fraud. Ben Smith, I hear people talking about grifters. Ben Smith to me is a grifter. Ben Smith wrote an article saying that I had a 27-year
Criminal history.
Career criminal. And the funny thing is if you look my criminal history up, which I've published myself and provided from day one, my criminal history goes from 1980 to 1986.
Wrong. Fucking wrong. There's state and federal filings that show that you have been arrested. You were arrested in 1987 and were spent 16 years in prison for forgery charges. It must have been pretty serious to be 16 years for fucking forgery. And then in 1997, also were slapped on the by the law too. So a blatant falsehood here. I don't even know what the benefit would be for him to lie about this. We have public records showing he was arrested. You could literally look him up right now if you wanted, and look at his arrest records. I don't even know what the benefit of this would be. I guess it would be people who are too deep in the sauce to care to do their own investigation. But wow.
And everything I've ever done, I've owned it.
That's clearly not true. You've repeatedly conducted fraud numerous times in your life, so it doesn't seem like you've owned anything.
Never wasted taxpayer money in any sentence I've ever been given.
Wait, that's... I hate to be pedantic, but that's kind of not true. I mean, if you're incarcerated, you're kind of wasting taxpayer money because you're wasting resources that the state needs to otherwise provide to house your ass in a cell or in a jail cell.
Given I've served. But he also said that I was a fugitive, that I was avoiding prosecution, I was trying to prevent from going to jail. None of that was true. But the media ran with it. Even Greta linked to it and said that people ask me why I would not interview Larry Sinclair. This is why. And she linked to Ben Smith's article. And notice his article was published right when I was preparing to do the press conference at the National Press Club.
So, what's your point?
But hey, the National Press Club, so-called beacon for freedom of the press, they were just as involved in trying to keep the story from ever being...
It's interesting. I watched.
Wait, that doesn't mean they can't just publish random, unsubstantiated shit. Like, they're not gonna like produce sludge for the fucking masses to consume. Like, if it's literally made up shit.
The other night, I watched your entire National Press Club appearance, and in it, you detail your intersections with law enforcement exhaustively.
Yeah.
Every time you've been arrested, you explain. Every time you've done time, you explain it. So you didn't, from what I could tell, hide your past.
Nobody said he was hiding his past. I think the main claim being made here is that he's lying about it.
No, why? You can't... I mean, I've never hidden my past in regular, everyday life. Why would I hide it in something like this?
So,
That's a talking about non sequitur, dude. What the fuck? I've never lied. I never hid my past, which a claim, by the way, nobody made, about my criminal history. So how could I be... Why would I hide something about Obama? Like, those two things are so disconnected. It is baffling of the mind. It creates new passages in my brain. Like, it devolves my brain. It makes it more of a fucking, like, monkey. Holy shit. What an asinine thing to say.
I mean, you're the only person on this set who's had sex with Barack Obama. So I think you're...
Wait, by the way, I love how we're working backwards from the conclusion here. He's like, you've had sex with Obama, like, as if it's a fact. Even though he didn't prove anything, he just said stuff.
I don't know, expert on Obama, but you know more than most people.
So we're going to defer to expert opinion because he had sex with Obama? That means he knows more about him? First off, that's not even true. If you have like a one-night stand or a two-night stand, it sounds like, with somebody, it doesn't mean you know them very well. Like, shut the man. Wow. Okay. Even if, and I'm granting the premise here that what he said was even true. But even doing that, like, that's a fucking dumbass thing to say.
What's your assessment of him now?
I think he's the same grifter that he's always been.
He's not even in office anymore.
I think he's still very power hungry. I think Obama is calling the shots in the current Biden administration more than people are willing to admit.
So, okay, here we go. Here's the wrap up. All right, we're at the end here. We gave a story. Now give us your full court press fucking narrative about Obama, and tie that in, by the way, with the Biden campaign. So that way we can extra go after Biden and have a new angle to attack Biden with.
I think Obama is hell-bent. I had made a statement during that press conference.
I don't even know why he has this impression in the first place. He did coke and had sex with him, right? That was it? And I guess he's under the impression that Obama... Obama also was responsible for the cover-up of the death of Donald Young. I don't... By the way, when we looked up Donald Young, like, trying to find out more information, like, there were several, like, sources that were all, like, far-right. So I don't know how trustworthy I'm going to be with the narrative spun about that.
that I felt that Barack Obama being elected was going to push race relations in this country backwards 50 years. I am absolutely positive I was
Yes, well, I think you've been vindicated on that.
because
Has he though? I think race relations have gotten better since 2008, but
race relations in this country has not only gotten pushed back, but everything's about race now. Everything.
again, we're at the end of this video, and at this point, just editorializing and pushing the same political narratives that are always pushed by Tucker Carlson and Fox News. Yeah.
Everything is about victimization now.
It's interesting though. Yeah, he's obviously a race hater, very anti-white, but he has sex with a white man. So you have to ask, like, is that real?
What are we doing here? What is happening? What is life? I can't believe he just said that. I don't really know how to respond to that, actually. Obama, we're operating on several layers of retardation here. Obama hates white people. Okay? He had sex with a white person. Source? So does he really hate white people?
Oh, for him, of course. I would be willing to bet you I'm not the only white person he's ever had sex with, or male, anybody.
Again, who gives a fuck? Even if he has had sex with white guys, black guys, fucking whoever, who cares? It's not even a big deal.
Yeah.
But hey, he's got what he wanted. You know, he is in D.C. He's living the life. He's still looked upon as being the savior of the country. You know, and sadly, people are still giving him that power.
Well, that's a straw man. I don't think anybody's ever said. And maybe there's some people who are fucking crazy and would say that Obama has been a savior for the country, but like, come on.
And I think it's going eventually to be to the detriment of.
Can I just ask you one last question? How did you? I'm saying that it's very insightful because I knew a lot of people who
Very
weren't liberals who voted
insightful.
for Obama purely on the race question, and they weren't all self-hating guilty whites. They were like nice, normal people who wanted to see race relations improve, and that really was the core promise of his campaign. And a lot of people bought it. A lot of smart people bought it, and I saw why they bought it. But you didn't buy it. How did you know that?
I grew up in
How did you cut through the bullshit that we all were hypnotized into thinking?
South Carolina in the 1960s and 70s. Okay, I've been gay and knew I was gay since 6 years old. Never hid it. Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up in rural South Carolina, and my first job as a kid was cropping tobacco for a family by the name of Rose. They were a black
Cropping
family
tobacco?
across the road from my grandparents. So I grew up as a kid, a gay kid, in an era and an area that would get you killed being gay just as quick as you could be hanging being black.
So because you're gay, you're more trustworthy.
So I actually knew the other side of the track before I knew that I was supposed to act like I was above this or above that.
Got
I've
it.
watched it my whole life. I know when someone plays, when it comes to acting like they're one way and then in reality they're the biggest racists or bigots alive on both sides.
Ooh. So you're implying that Obama's a racist? I'm assuming he means against white people, but I don't know. I mean, like, he doesn't seem racist to me, but
Okay. I knew because he was saying one thing in the campaign, and then if people started to actually listen to what he was saying, remember there was a time when he actually told supporters to show up at a fight with a knife, get in people's face,
What?
argue with them if they didn't agree to support him, if they didn't agree to vote for him, argue with them, convince them. Come on. You don't make statements like that and tell me that you're not going to make things about race. He did.
Man, that is the one part of your story that we can say unequivocally you're telling the truth about. You saw that, and most people didn't. Larry Sinclair, I'm really grateful that you came. I wish I had interviewed you.
the fact that he gave a platform to this man is a vindication for me, even more than it was already, that Tucker Carlson is just a political hack, propagandist, doing everything he can to subvert the Democratic Party. So, you know, it is what it is, I guess. Cool beans. Well, and the end there was pretty obvious. Like, it was pretty obvious that he was like just throwing shit out there, like for political purposes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's wild. Cool beans, cool beans. 300 seconds. That's not long enough, buddy. No. Okay, whatever. I guess I'll have to have that in the background. Alright. What was the other... What else was I gonna do? Jesus. Oh yeah, that Jimmy Dore interview. Alright, yeah, we'll do that too. Before we do that, I'm gonna take a quick break here. Well, there it is. Take a quick break, listen to some copyright-free stream music, and call it a day. Alright. Or not call it a day, just call it a little break here. Yeah, alright. I'll be right back. Hang tight. Hello. Wow. We are back. We are so back. Howdy. Just had a sandwich here for breakfast, so rejuvenated. Yeah, so we have a couple other things to talk about, I guess. Alright, so obviously we have the Tucker Carlson thing. Or the Jimmy Dore thing. That's that thing. Okay, this is just real quick. This is pretty funny, I think. I'm not even like super like triggered over it. Just funny. Shit. Never mind. Women and men are equal. But in reality, I could choke slam and beat a bitch up. What? This is not like. This is not the thing to flex on, okay? Also, I'll just let you know that when people say men and women are equal, they're usually referring to like they should both be treated with the same level of dignity as like they should both be treated like good, you know? And also be treated with the same level of opportunities and all that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, I saw this. This fucking wild. Oh shit, hold on one second. Alright. Um I don't even like yeah. I love how like the joke is the same joke all the time. Look at this shit, dude. What are you fucking talking about? What are you fucking talking about? Let's be honest, probably land, had to be on. You fucking people disgust me. Like, honest to God, dude. Like, I'm not even, like, offended by the chauvinism. I'm more offended by, like, how fucking stupid of a thing to say is. I'm more offended by the idiocy of the thing itself. Okay, whatever. Oh, I wonder if this is available now. Oh. No, we're good. Okay. I don't know if this loser is even worth my time, but wait, is this? Wait, hold on. Hold up. Okay, this on right here. Jimmy Dore reacts to Cornel West interview. Is this loser really reacting to himself? What a fucking loser. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Let me just weekly check.
That they're prosecuting. Oh, I can't believe he
Quotes Ryan Knight.
got away with me not asking them this question. Do you think they're
YouTube's, they all start a YouTube channel when they come out.
they just can't
Guess
stop?
what? They love him for that.
And he's got courage. Businesses collapsed during COVID, so that's not a big deal. They
Says that supposedly like Trump, they all drop.
country that you can't.
Okay, it's just them whining. Got it. Usually, Jimmy Dore is a waste of time. But the Cornel West interview I thought might be interesting potentially, but he's spread it out over a couple of videos here. I don't know. CNN can. He still put. By the way, this is like our semi-yearly reminder that Jimmy Dore is anti-vax and anti-mask. CNN confronts Fauci with conclusive evidence masks don't work. I'm willing to bet that the metric by which he's determining the success rate for masks is going to be completely different from what it should be. Obama admits he might be a little gay. Who cares? Cornel West dismisses harm done by COVID lockdowns. Ooh. Well, all's well that ends well. Let's just look at this. I don't have to give him a view, even though I already did.
Level of corruption that took place during these years, be able to see not just the text, we know the books are out there, but to have a truth commission so that we can see what voices were marginalized, what voices were pushed aside, and make sure it never happens again. I resonate with the spirit of what my green, and as important as the issue of vaccines and the COVID situation was, when you say that's probably the most important issue in your lifetime or in the last 25 or 30 years in light of all the wars, in light of what Palestinians are going through, in light of what workers are going through, 63% of them living paycheck to paycheck in terms of all the vicious attacks of the police and the murders and so forth. And yet this vaccine issue is the most important thing. I say, okay, that's my dear brother Jimmy. He's got a right to raise his voice. I'm not going to in any way push it away, but I just live in a different world. As important as vaccines have been, if I had another chance, I'd be leaning much more with the Black Caucus. But when I think of the weightiest issues, vaccines does not come immediately to mind. It just doesn't.
True. Also, he's smarter than Jimmy Dore here because he knows that dying on the hill, that masks don't work, and like don't get the Fauci out, like all that. Like he knows that dying on that hill is a political liability. Thus, he is willing to, I guess, not like talk about it too much, or like, whatever. So he's a little bit more. I don't even think Cornel West is that great of a candidate, but like he seems a little more like politically like aware of what would and would not resonate with voters.
That's the kind of world we live in, brother.
Okay.
Maybe I'll spend,
Well, here it is. The black business owners collapsed by 41%. Black business because of lockdowns.
Wait, where does it say because black business owners ranks collapsed by 41% U.S. lockdowns? Interesting. Studies suggest outsized harm to African Americans and Latinos. Overall, 3.3 million U.S. businesses closed, largest on record. Let me see if I can find that article. Businesses locked. I think I spelled that right. This is probably what it was using. Oh, it's paywalled. Now we're cooking. Well, let's put it this way. Any ripple effect that will take place economically on a broad scale will be amplified, generally speaking, against minority groups. So this is not really a surprising statistic. Additionally, I think we're leaving out some context with this, potentially. For example, how many lives were potentially saved because of the lockdowns, as well as how many lives were saved because of mask mandates and all that stuff. it's an unfortunate circumstance to be in for a variety of reasons, but I think that it's more important to have people and the livelihoods of others be sustained through lockdowns if it is efficacious, which I believe it was to some extent. Then I think that's a good trade-off, in spite of how awful it is, generally speaking, with how many businesses were closed as a result of COVID. But again, and I'll reiterate this, any harm that is seen at the macro level with the U.S. economy will probably be amplified with like minority communities, especially.
Do you care yet?
Well, no,
70,000 workers in one state were fired because of vaccine mandates. When are you going to care? Do they all have to be trans?
Ooh.
When are you going to care about these
No,
workers?
no, no,
When are you going to care about? When are you going to care about this?
They have to be trans for me to care.
You don't care. You don't care.
It's so funny. I saw this coming from like 100 years in advance. I saw this when I started shifting away from like the Bernie or Bust fucking group. I'm like a fucking Nostradamus, okay? Because I saw this shit from a mile away. Whatever candidate that Jimmy Dore and people who share his like ideology, whichever candidate throw their backing towards, they are going to go fucking hog wild, rolling around in the mud with them if they had the opportunity to talk. And this comes and rather stems from their like super weird obsession with expressing open disdain for these politicians and the establishment. It's kind of like an identity thing, you know. It's like part of like who they are, like as an essence of a human being. Yeah, I don't know. But I saw that happening from like a mile because I knew like with Cornel West, like Jimmy Dore is being unnecessarily hard on Cornel West, who is apparently their crown jewel as a candidate to challenge Biden and all this. And I'm not saying like you shouldn't go hard against like politicians or whatever, but it just feels like no matter who you are, people who share the ideology of Jimmy Dore will go hard on you no matter what, even if you are perceived to be the best candidate in a race or whatever. Yeah.
Why don't you care about this?
Why would you accuse them?
It's pretty fucked up also to accuse him as not caring about the closure of businesses, black businesses. This is such a terrible, this is just such a terrible optics thing too. First off, logically, why would you assume that Cornel West doesn't care about the closure of black businesses when he simply states that he doesn't believe mass mandates and lockdowns were a like cornerstone issue? Like, there's so many issues out there. It's not just because he said that. Like, obviously he has some reservations about the lockdowns and all that, but he just said it wasn't like a major issue. So how can you take that and say that he doesn't care at all? That's a stunning comment to make. Additionally, and this is just an optics thing here. A white guy pointing out black businesses being closed and telling a black guy that he doesn't care about it, just optically doesn't look good. Now, for me, I don't care what the fucking race of the person is. If they're wrong, they're wrong. But like optically speaking, I think politically this makes or maybe not politically, but optically it makes Jimmy Dore look like an asshole.
Of course I care about it.
You're saying it's not important.
I didn't say it wasn't important. I said it was not the most fundamental.
That's true. He didn't say it wasn't important. He said that it wasn't like the most signifying, like groundbreaking cornerstone issue of our time.
Issue in my lifetime, the last 30 years.
Forced medical experiments?
Forced medical experiments? That's a very odd reframing of mask mandates. What is he Okay. He's a clown. Everybody knows it, like, yeah.
Forced medical experiments?
Where's the nuance?
Oh my God. So you
complexity,
missed this story and you're not interested in getting it right.
When did he say he's not interested? Everything that it's actually amazing when you take the I know it's easy for us right now because I can pause, but it's actually incredible how many falsehoods and misrepresentations that Jimmy Dore employs when talking to somebody or talking about somebody.
So you missed this story and you're not interested. Well, Dr. West, I wish you the best. You know I love you. You know I support you.
he's kicking him off because he doesn't agree with him. Jesus Christ.
You stay strong, though,
I
brother.
okay. I wish you all the best.
What a
I love you. Thanks
cesspool.
for coming on. I really do wish you all the best. And I just wish you had a clearer message to reach people, but you don't. It's muddled and it's a
That's so rich, man. And I started this out by saying that like Cornel West has a better political understanding of the landscape, and Jimmy Dore doesn't. And Jimmy Dore apparently has the arrogance to suggest otherwise.
loser. So good luck,
Well,
though.
Damn.
we shall see. But if it does win, we're going to incorporate your best and show how wrong and how.
All right, cool. Yeah. Oh well. What you gonna do? I don't really want to watch the whole thing though. That would be a nightmare. All right. Well, damn. What else? What else is there, huh? Oh yeah, this. Wait, nah, I don't really talk about that. No. All right. Yeah. I guess that is it. Yeah. Cool. Well, I think I'm gonna go, and let me think here. When am I streaming? Maybe Thursday. My streaming schedule might change in the near term. But I'll let you know if any major changes are made on Twitter. So please, if you would like to keep up to date, I recommend you follow me on Twitter to get those updates. That would be best. Let's just pencil in next Saturday. I don't think anything's happening. Next Saturday should be fine. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. If any changes are made, just follow me at Vincent on Twitter to get those updates, and I will see you guys next time.